The 1990s were Michael Jordan's decade in the NBA. While he was winning 6 titles with the Bulls, 29 other organizations missed out on championship glory. These are the stories of some of the teams that were relegated to footnotes on MJ's path to the top. Let's talk about the Seattle Supersonics, who are now the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's still a sore spot for the people most interested in this video, so let's move on. The Sonics won the chip in 1979, then spent the 80s being consistently aight. But the 90s brought talent, excitement, highlights, and results. They also brought a matchup with Michael Jordan, which, these videos have a theme. You already know what it is. In 1989, Seattle had 2 first-round picks. They spent the second on Shawn, a high school phenom who never played college basketball because of a long story involving a stolen chain, who was also one of the most amazing athletes ever to play basketball. Kemp was 6'10", 230 pounds of power and explosion. He averaged a double-double his third year in the NBA, and he kept it up for each of his next 5 in Seattle. And during that span, Kemp was one of 4 players with 500 blocks and 500 steals. The others are in the Hall of Fame. And he dunked.
Up to Gary Payton. Lead pass to Kemp. He'll play it down. What a lob! Whoa! Gary Payton with a lob ahead to Kemp.
He dunked in contests. He dunked on people. Kids, you must understand. For anyone who saw Kemp as he played, he was unforgettable. In 1990, Seattle had the second pick in the draft and took Gary Payton from Oregon State. We don't know why the hell he went to college there either, but the man who was later named the Glove was so good on defense he was Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year as a freshman. In the NBA, he made first-team All-Defense from 94 to 2002 and won Defensive Player of the Year in 96, the only point guard ever to win the award. And he talked all the shit. I mean all of it. And he did it with that look on his face. That had to be annoying. In 93, the Sonics acquired Detlef Schrempf in a trade for Derek McKee. Schrempf was the best 6th man in the league when he played for Indiana, largely because he was too damn good to be on anybody's bench. Today's basketball dorks would love him. 6'10" with inside and outside game, the tallest player from 93 to 99 to shoot 40% from 3. And that flat top. After coaching at Albany in the CBA and Real Madrid in Europe, George Karl took over coaching the Sonics in January '92. Karl had 2 stops in the NBA before Albany, where he made the playoffs in year 1 and got fired before the end of year 2, partially for performance and largely because people didn't like him very much. One of those, if you want to know how good he is, just ask him types. Had there been Twitter in '95, Kendall Gill would have hit Karl with a snake emoji after being traded for Hersey Hawkins. Performance wasn't a problem in Seattle. The dude with the scar on his lip went 27-15 in '92 after taking over a 500 team. Karl's record for his 7 years in Seattle, 384 and 150, the equivalent of 59 wins per season. What stood out about Karl's teams was defense. Not just how well they played defense, but how. And a time when zone defense was forbidden, Karl's Sonics, well, that wasn't exactly man-to-man defense. They racked up illegal defense calls like Rasheed Wallace got technical fouls. Which is to say, if the whole league says you're cheating, your coach is probably doing something right. The window started with the 92-93 season and ran through 98 when Karl left Seattle. Seattle won 55 games in 93 and drove Phoenix to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals before bowing out. 55 was the fewest games the Sonics won during Karl's tenure. Every season from 93 to 98, Seattle finished in the top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency. Kemp made the All-Star team every year from 93 to 98, and Payton joined him every year but one.
Gary Payton of Seattle feeding to his Sonics teammate, Shawn Kemp.
In Karl's 6 full seasons, only Chicago had a higher regular season winning percentage. 1996 was the year for Seattle. They won 64 games and won the Western Conference, sweeping the 2-time defending champion Rockets and defeating the Stockton Malone Jazz in 7 games along the way. Their reward, of course, was facing the first 70-win team in NBA history. We already got to Kemp in his dunks. Luckily, he's got so many we could put some more in here.
Kemp picks Mark Jackson, gets the give and goes.
3 on 2. Oh, brother!
The Sonics were an interesting cast of characters. Early in the run, they had Michael Cage, a one-time rebounding champion. No NBA player was ever more famous on the strength of his jerry curl than Cage. Look at the pride of West Memphis, Arkansas. He held on to rebounds with that curl. There was also Nate McMillan, local fan favorite. McMillan, now a long-tenured head coach, never averaged double figures in Seattle, but his 12 seasons with the Sonics earned him jersey retirement. He also ranks high on the list of most consecutive games played with a box haircut. That's just what fit the shape of his head. I guess the guys who played for him would probably say Karl, but he's more of a nearsighted jerk.
I don't know what you're getting at. I think you're an to be honest with you.
Interestingly, this team really didn't have many villains or truly annoying characters. Well, at least not to me. I reckon many of you hated Gary Payton. Not me, but let me indulge those folks a little. Payton was loud and obnoxious and Oakland. Very Oakland. And that ain't for everybody. But think about this. Steve Francis made 3 All-Star teams, and the most memorable moment of his career is that Payton once called him a punk-ass rookie in a preseason game. And that's no shade to the franchise. That's just Gary Payton. You were going to hear him before the game, during the game, after the game. And if you like scoring, there was a reason to have beef with Payton, because who the hell was scoring on him? Of course, we saved one Kemp dunk, the Lister Blister. The guy in the way is Alton Lister.
Kemp's got it right up into the alley. Power slam! Tomahawk Sam! Yeah, baby!
As you can see, he was blistered. But even worse than that one is the time Kemp banged so hard on Chris Gatlin that all he could do when he got off the floor was give Kemp some dap. I can never decide if I love or hate Gatlin for that, but what else could he do? It's not like fighting Kemp looked like a good idea. Somehow, the answer to what Jordan did to them is not nearly as much as he did to everybody else. The 96 Sonics held Jordan to 27.3 points per game in the NBA Finals, fewer points per game than any of the Bulls' opponents in that round. 3 of Jordan's 5 lowest point totals in singles finals games were against the Sonics. After falling behind 0-3, Karl got the bright idea of asking the Defensive Player of the Year to guard the other team's best player. From then on, Mike averaged 23.7 points, shot below 36% from the field, and had more turnovers than assists. But those first 3 games, the Bulls won them by a combined 43 points. In Game 1, Jordan scored 28, while all of Seattle's guards combined for 29. In Game 2, Jordan's 29 matched Seattle's guards. And in Game 3 in Seattle, which the Sonics had to have after falling behind 2-0 in the series, Jordan went for 36, again matching all of Seattle's guards, as the Bulls destroyed the Sonics 108-86. Payton believes things could have gone differently had he guarded Jordan sooner. Mike disagrees. But you gotta admit, Payton's got a point. There was no more disappointing franchise in the 90s than the Sonics. In fact, the 96 team wasn't even their best in the window. That was the 94 team, which finished with the best record in the NBA. They finished second in offensive efficiency and third in defensive efficiency. They went up 2-0 on the 8-seed Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs, then became the first 1 seed to lose a first-round best-of-5 series. The following season, the Sonics won 57 games but lost in the first round again. Things got weird with the 97 team. They actually had a better net rating than the 96 team that went to the finals, but Kemp kind of checked out after Seattle broke the bank to sign Jim McIlvaine, who played 15 minutes a game for the Bullets the year before. Seattle paid McIlvaine about as much as they were paying the Rain Man, and McIlvaine still played 15 minutes a game. Seattle won a tough 5-game first-round series against the Suns before losing in 7 to the Rockets the following round. Kemp thought that would be his last game in Seattle, and he was right. The Sonics traded Kemp in a deal that brought Vin Baker to Seattle. You could say that's the definition of doing it to yourself, but with Baker, Seattle won 61 games in 97-98. But after holding off Kevin Garnett, Stephon Marbury, and the Timberwolves in 5, the Lakers smoked Seattle in 5 games. That season was one disappointment too many, and Karl was fired. The franchise only won 50 games one more time before 2009-2010 when, as the Thunder, they had 5 straight 50-win seasons minus the lockout year when they made the NBA Finals. But all those things happened in Oklahoma City. And that's one thing we can't blame on Michael Jordan.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.